All right, good morning. Welcome to Technical Reading Through Games. Now, we haven't streamed here for, since Friday. So yesterday was kind of a catch-up day, a chance to turn in some things that some of you were missing, a chance to for everybody to get caught up. Some people got their portfolios caught up, turned in, all that good stuff. So today is a day to play. And before you start, there's one thing I think I want to do. So one thing I haven't done yet, which is something I should have done a long time ago. I want to model for you what you should be doing as you play, all right? So for example, for this unit right now, between today and tomorrow, you're still looking at audience, all right? So you're still looking at how your game gives little clues as to who the demographic might be or who the audience might be. Now here's the thing. There are all kinds of things that will affect this. So your history of how you play games or what games you play or whether or not you even play games, that's a huge factor in how you're going to determine who might play the game that you're playing. Your own background knowledge in terms of games. So most of you were in technical writing. So we did a lot of deep diving in technical writing, looking at games. And another piece is just the vocabulary of games. So if you play games a lot, especially multiplayer games, there's a whole vocabulary that goes along with it, a whole set of jargon that some of you may know and some of you may not know. And so all of those things are going to play into how you interpret who might best be suited for the game that you're playing. All right, and then of course, all your other life experiences. Friends, all the things that you do like in your free time, all of these things are going to play into that, and that's perfectly fine. So, what one person sees as a demographic, somebody else might not see. It's not necessarily important who you see as a demographic. What's more important is the evidence that you have to back up what it is that you're saying. So that's really what I want to model today. So this is one of those things that I feel like it's been maybe a struggle in this course is getting people to provide evidence for their thought process. And I think part of that comes just because it's games, and so a lot of times, when we think of games, we just think of play, which is fine. But what we're looking at in this course is something called serious play, which I know sounds really odd. But serious play is looking at games as a way of, and in this case, it's a way of like interpreting information. It's a way of looking at the way that people provide a text that's very different than any text that I think most of you have been exposed to. And so when we look at play, this is definitely a more serious play. So you're not playing just to finish the game. You're not playing to get every achievement necessarily. You're playing to pull the game apart and see what makes it tick. All right, that's a very different play style than how you would normally play a game. Okay, so you really have to train yourself how to do this. So what I want to do is I want to show you what I mean. So I'm going to switch to our Nintendo Switch, and I want to show you. So I'm going to talk through as I play the kinds of things that you should be either jotting down note-wise. You can jot it down on your phone, you can jot it down on a sheet of paper, you can jot it down in Google Classroom. But these are the things that you should be doing as you play, all right? And it's almost going to sound like a little bit of stream of consciousness, if that makes sense. So it may not make a whole lot of sense, if you would take some of these statements out of context. But in context, I think they'll make a lot of sense. So I picked Donkey Kong Frozen Country. So let me switch over to that first, all right? So I'm going to switch over to that. All right. So we're in Donkey Kong Country, all right? And let me walk you through what this is going to look like here, okay? So I think all of you can see Donkey Kong Country. All right, so right now so if I go to start this, I already cleared out one of the games to be able to play this, right? So right away, even right here, this screen very, right? Very stylized. I think it's pretty cool. Now, I also have a history of playing Donkey Kong games. So I remember playing Donkey Kong on my aunt and uncle's little handheld, they had this little handheld Donkey Kong game where it was just the barrels, like the old school Donkey Kong. So I played Donkey Kong all the way back there. So my history of Donkey Kong spans the gamut here, right? From those little simple light graphics to this, we've come quite a long way, all right? Now, I also own Donkey Kong Country at home. And so I know that Tropical Freeze is kind of like another version, I guess, of Donkey Kong Country here, right? So if you've never played Donkey Kong Country, you don't really know what you're in for here, all right? Now I do, all right. So that's going to play a little bit of effect on who I think this game might appeal to, all right. So first of all, I think it's going to appeal to people possibly my age. And hopefully it'll appeal, I think it's going to appeal to a wide audience as well. Just because it is so stylized, it's fun. It's not as violent as a lot of other video games might be considered. So I think a lot of parents would be okay with their kids playing this. All right. So I'm going to start a new game. And the first thing you notice is I've got a few different modes here. So it says choose Funky Mode for some extra help on your adventure. Play as DK or Funky Kong. Let's see what other modes we have. Original mode. Looks like those are the only two modes that I've got here. All right. So that tells me a few things. One, if I'm a fan of Donkey Kong, I can play, what I'm used to playing. However, if I'm just playing this for the first time or I'm not very good, I can play on Funky Mode as well. All right. So this tells me that this is probably made for both people who are gamers and people who maybe have not played games before. So if I'm taking notes, if I'm writing some things down, sure, all right? To possibly two distinct kind of players, all right? So I would jot that down definitely for sure. I would even write down even like the little things, like look at the menu. Like the outside of the menu is very stylized. I've got moving graphics in the background. There's a snowflake on the plate. Yeah, that's right. I didn't even notice that. Yeah, in the background there's a snowflake on the paper. Yep, which indicates it's a little different Donkey Kong. And here's a crazy thing, right? So I have this tropical island, even though it's Tropical Freeze. Now I also get to select the controller. I'm gonna go with default. Let's alternate. So I only got two here. All right. So I'm going to select this one, play in single player. So this also tells me something. This would be something I'd write down. Single player. So this means that I can either play in single player or I can play in two player. All right, so I'm going single player. And I get to choose who I want to be. I'm going to be Donkey Kong because I'm used to it. All right, so you can change your control mode and options. All right, I'm going to continue. And hopefully this is going to take me to some kind of narrative here that shows me maybe the story behind Tropical Freeze. I see in the corner a little barrel that's kind of rolling around there. Even loading screens like this are an indication. Cuphead, you see that little timer that flips. Kind of a cool little thing. And it looks like I have a narrative. It's like we've got some characters here. Kind of fun, cartoonish, right? They're like non-threatening. Now this does remind me a lot of just regular Donkey Kong Country beginning here too. Now it's taking us far away. Of course the music changes, but a bit more ominous. And I expect these, intimidating people or creatures. I got a penguin right now. Alright, so we got cute little penguins. Nothing intimidating yet, but it looks like there's this creature or something there that could be a little more intimidating. But even this, just the fact that they're creatures and they're not, actual Vikings, that tells me something as well, right? The production value of the narrative, I think, is huge too. No, it looks like I'm not, I'm probably not dealing with an indie game here. This is definitely, more of a big name. Okay, we've got flying ships. All right. So it looks like we had a suspendal of disbelief. Of course, we just had, Donkey Kong and his family, who I believe are apes, celebrating a birthday party. So. Alright, so it looks like here's where we get the tropical freeze. So they're still on Tropical Island, but somehow this, I guess this ship had some kind of control where there's, it looks like it's frozen. So if I'm taking notes, I'm writing all this stuff down, I'm writing down the cartoon style of the drawings, I'm writing down, the fact that these are animals and they're not actual people. So. Alright, so even that little bit where they showed me, X and Y, I was supposed to hit those just to get started here. The controller itself is buzzing as well. That may be an indicator, okay? Now here's the other thing. At the top of the screen you have 3 hearts, which give me some kind of indication that this is going to be a little different. Like I don't have a percentage, I don't have a bar. It's not a first-person perspective. It's a side scroller of some kind, all right? So, I'm going to test out some of the controls here, all right? Buttons here, just a little button mashing. All right, okay. Animations are really smooth, great lighting. All right, so I have an indicator there. It shows me how much maybe oxygen I have. All right, so I'm swimming. Alright, so I'm getting an indication here's what I need to do. So it looks like I need to move the joystick, to the right and X or Y. Okay. Now I'm going to try to see what we hit. There we go. Alright, let's hit that fish. So I got some stuff down here. Okay. Now depending on what player type I am, of course, I'm going to start to look for, can I take that fish out, or am I going to try to get every single banana? This also has a massive effect on that, all right? So now I played Donkey Kong Country before, so I know that jumping on those little creatures would take it out, or at least stun it, Now I also know that if I shake, that's going to stun it as well, all right? Now, I only know that because I played Donkey Kong Country before, okay? So that would be something I would want to take note of, So having played this game before, or knowing the game, knowing the series is going to have a huge effect on how I play the game and possibly the audience itself. All right, so this is all I'm going to be taking note of. I'd even be jotting down notes about, what player type do I think this might best fit even, you know what I mean? So I've got all these, here I'm trying to shake the controller because that's what I'm used to playing Donkey Kong Country on. Whoops. Clearly I'm a little rusty here. All right. So as I play, this is what I mean by serious plays. I'm not just playing to get to the end of it. I'm playing because I want to learn more about what specifically, if I played this, even if I played this game before, I've not played for this particular reason. So remember, I'm not playing just to get to the end of this level or to beat the game. I'm playing to figure out who I think is most likely going to play this game. Like I said, looking at the Bardo player type that may be, most interested in this game. And you could even argue, you could argue and say, well, there's a lot of player types who are going to be most interested in this game. Maybe it's not just one type, but there may be several types. And now here's the thing, just making the claim is one thing, but having the evidence to back up why it is that you say that's going to be something completely different, okay? So, for example, if I'm looking at Bardo player type and I'm an achiever, I got stuff here in order to try to get this. So, for example, if I'm not an achiever, I took a hit there because I wanted to get these 3 bananas and I wanted to get this whatever, this is going to be up here. Little puzzle piece, okay? If I'm not an achiever, I'm probably not going to do that. I'm probably just going to keep going. All right? Now here's another indicator here, all right? So I've got more clues as to how to play this. So I'm going to stop here, but you get the idea, right? As I go through, I'm being very mindful of what's happening in the game. I'm also being very mindful of what I'm doing. So this is just a very different way to play, right? So I'm asking you to disrupt your flow as you play this game, just to think about what it is that the game is designed to do. All right, so this is going to take a little bit of practice, and you may not be good at it right away, and that's perfectly fine. All right, you may realize that you might die more often simply because you're not in that flow, and that's okay too, because it's not about how far you get in the game. It's about all those little pieces that you can kind of pull out of the game. All right, so what questions do you have before I let you just go and start to collect evidence here? You call it play, I call it collect evidence. Tomatoes, tomatoes. All right, great. Well, I'm gonna let you all take control then. I'll be around to ask questions. The reason I'm asking questions as you play is, once again, just to kind of get you to be more mindful as you play. All right. Now, obviously, when you go home, I don't expect you to play like this. Clearly. However, for something like this, the more mindful that you are of your playing, the more evidence you can draw in, and of course, a richer discussion we can have then here later in the week. So, I'll let you play. All right, get to it, and I'll be around. All right. Yep. All right. So, let's get all of you on your game systems here. All right, so for those of you who are watching, we're just getting the game systems set up here, ready to play. All right, so we're going to start here with our Fez group. All right. All right, so we have two people playing Fez. Would either of you consider yourself to be gamers?
Um, kinda.
All right, kind of. Do you think that makes it easier or more difficult to to look at a game more objectively or constructively?
I think it's kinda harder because like you're so used to playing it a certain way, and then you don't really think about other things while you're playing.
Yeah, serious play is a different kind of play, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. All right, so with a game like Fez, like you're so focused on, I mean, the puzzles are not necessarily easy, and you really got to think through what it is that you're doing. So I'd have somebody ask you questions as you do this. Is that hard to do?
Yeah. Kinda.
Yeah, so you're like, all right, stop asking questions. All right, that's fair. That's fair. All right, well, good luck. All right, so we're back to our Zelda group here. All right, with Zelda. All right, so Zelda is a like just a massive game. Um, so as you know, as you're looking through this, I mean, you could spend, I mean, literally weeks, writing down all the things that you might see. Oh, that's unfortunate. That's that hurt to watch. I'm sorry. Luckily, you can just respawn, and none's the wiser. Okay, so now you're back. How much did you lose? Oh, you didn't lose that much. You're right. You're good. Okay. Okay, so let's just look at what just happened. All right, so you character just died. All right, and as your character died, um, first of all, is it?
No, he just kind of fell down, and then that was the end.
All right, so what is that? I mean, what does that tell you about the? Oh, that it's unfortunate. I'm sorry. So it's always yeah, it's fun having somebody ask you questions while you're trying to go through a difficult part of the game. All right, so let me ask you one question, and then I'll let you get past this part here. So when as you're climbing up here, you get injured, or even last time as your character died, wasn't a gory thing. So what does that tell you about the possible audience for Zelda?
It's probably children, or they've probably had things in the past where parents have been upset with the gore, or like maybe in like an older game there was something like more blood or something, and parents didn't like it, so they complained, so they changed how the death works in this.
Okay, would it be more immersive if there was gore, or do you like it the way it is?
Usually, as soon as I die, I kind of like step out of the zone, so I'm not really like immersed anyways. So I really don't think it matters.
Okay, that's a good point. All right.
Really, yeah, like blood isn't gonna make me be like, yeah, this game is great. I don't really care about that. Like, I'm not like, oh man, because like I don't really know how well like the immersion thing works, because like that's an elf. I'm not an elf. Like when he's getting killed, I'm not really worried. Like I don't really relate to this character.
Yeah, do you even? I guess the other question is, do you even want to? I mean, do you want to have to be climbing up this tower that I don't even know how is, 100 feet high with spikes and fall to your death? Probably not, right?
I've just killed this guy 3 times. I really don't want to be him.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. Okay.
Like the girl that he likes she always gets stolen. Oh man, she always gets stolen. I don't want to be responsible for having to protect her every Friday night.
Yeah, that's true. No, that's true. And that, I mean, it does tell you a lot about the audience then too, right? I mean, I think there are a lot of people thinking that once you play a video game that you feel as if you're that character, and there may be elements, where you want to try to beat a certain part, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you feel that character, right?
Yeah. I think the only time I really want to feel like fully immersed is when it's like a VR game. Like if it's a horror, like the reason I play a horror game is because I personally want to get scared. When I play this, I'm just like playing an adventure game. Like I'm just doing my thing. I'm not trying to be Link.
Yeah. Interesting. Oh man, this is getting a little frustrating at this point. I guess the other nice thing too, as you're working through this one spot, is that it does give you the opportunity to do it over and over and over again. So it doesn't really matter how many times it takes you. I mean, right? So it's yeah. Oh. Oh. This is what we call iteration, right? So the idea is you have the opportunity to do it over and over again, and just eventually get it right, right? Well, let me ask you though. So, do you think like somebody that's like maybe age 6 or 7 would just keep attempting to do this?
I think most people have like a short attention span, so I think the only reason I'm doing this is because it's making me mad at this point.
You know that you can do it. Okay.
Well, I hope I can.
Yeah.
No, it's not the same.
All right. So this also tells you about player types too. I mean, looking at motivation as to why somebody might be willing to do this over and over again too. I mean, that would give you an indication as to the audience this might best be suited for. Alright, so we had a group that was playing Call of Duty World War II. But now it looks like you've switched to Minecraft because Call of Duty kept crashing on you. Right? Okay, so something gotta get fixed here. Alright, now have you two both played Minecraft before?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think everyone's played Minecraft, right? So, now, do you play Minecraft currently?
No, not really.
Okay. But you have a past of playing Minecraft. So, all right. So when you're looking at who this might best be suited for, what kind of things come to mind?
It's probably more suited for the younger audience because usually when younger audience like plays with toys as they grow up, toys become like less fun because they're more creative when they're younger and they can like explore their mind. That's kind of like what this game is good for, like exploring and finding out new things, trying out new things, and younger audiences usually better.
Now, do you still enjoy playing this?
Um, I would say yeah. It's pretty fun, but it can get boring after a little while.
Okay. All right. This is not going to be as fast paced as like a first person shooter or something like that, right? Okay. So is there? I mean, so if we're looking at audience, somebody who's never played Minecraft before, like how would you even begin to describe this game to them?
I would probably not even describe it. I would just probably have them play it and just let them go and experience it. It's probably the best way to have them play it.
Okay, so Minecraft it really is so different from a lot of other games because really, I mean, it's emergent, so it's whatever you make it out to be is what the game is going to be, I guess. And I mean, you could argue that with other games too, but particularly with Minecraft because you do have so much creative freedom. Um, Now, I mean, do you think other games are like that? If you said, if you're trying to describe, like, for example, you guys are playing Call of Duty World War II, if you had to try and describe that to somebody who's never played it before, would you describe it, or would you do the same thing, just put them in the game?
I'd probably be more descriptive first there, because the Bartle player types for Call of Duty, for the campaign, it'd be more, it wouldn't be as because it's kind of a linear campaign. You kind of have to do the certain missions. It's not really free roam, but it's towards like the killer, the not really socializer for campaign. That's more multiplayer, and then achiever, of course, because they have like achievements to go through and stuff like that.
Yeah. Now, I noticed too, like, when you play, obviously on here, you unlock certain achievements as you play too. Do you unlock certain achievements, or do you think when an achievement pops up, they're just like, oh, that's cool?
I think it's like, oh, that's cool, because it doesn't really have like that challenging of achievements, but it still has them for the achievement hunters out there.
All right, so Minecraft versus Call of Duty World War II, a little more relax. Minecraft is a little more relaxing, would you say?
Yeah, definitely.
You said, when I turned the mic off, you said almost, maybe I said, or you said almost like therapeutic, right? What is it about this game that is relaxing?
It's a combination between just being able to go wherever you want and the music especially. Like, the music is so iconic to be like relaxing and
Yeah, that's true. That's true. All right, so we moved on to our HTC Vive station with a game that we just got not too long ago called The Wizards? Wizard, yeah. Kind of a cool, obviously first person, immersive adventure where you're a wizard. So, I guess, looking at this, I mean, this is so different than any other game that we have going right now. I mean, we have other first-person games, but this is so much more immersive. Do you think this is one of those games that anyone would be interested in playing?
You can hear the
Probably
village
not.
life returning to normal.
Why not? Why don't you? I mean, yeah, I guess why not?
Just depends what type of game you like. Like first-person shooters, this basically kind of that.
Okay. All right. I mean, it's fairly fast-moving, right? I mean, if you have enemies coming at you, you have to be able to react pretty quickly, right?
Yeah, they give you two options of movement. You
From
can
here
either
on out, it
move
should
with
be
like
smooth sailing.
teleporting,
Have
which
some
is
fun
easier
shooting
for
enemies.
people
I'll
if they don't have
provide
fast
moral
reactions, or you can just move with like the circle pad.
Okay. All right. So that was an interesting user interface there. So this is how you basically level up, right?
Yeah, that's how you upgrade and figure out new moves you can do, like different powers.
Is it hard to remember all the moves?
Not really.
Okay, so here's another thing to think about too. So this is a game where you have to utilize both of the hand controllers. So what if you have somebody who may not have like full? What happens if they can't use both of their hands fully? I mean, is this going to keep them from doing some things?
A few things, yeah.
Yeah. So this is another thing to think about is just access to these kinds of like VR experiences, I guess. So that may limit the audience too, right?
Yeah.
And then of course you have cost. I mean, this VR system it's not a cheap system. It takes a pretty hefty computer to run it. So that's another indicator.
Well done.
And that's going to be not give everyone access to it as well, right?
Yeah, like some of the moves like he's showing right now, like the fireball, you have to use one hand, and then there's another one with the shield. You might not be able to do any moves, if we're being honest, because there's another one where you have to use both hands.
So yeah, so if you had access to only one hand, or if you only had, if you had like one arm that was functioning, or you only had one arm, that would be very difficult to be able to do something like this, right? I mean, that is, I hadn't really thought about that until I'm watching you guys play. I even tried this before, and I didn't think about the access to it, for somebody who may not have. Who may not be able to use both of their hands or both of their arms, Now the nice part is you don't have to necessarily have. You don't have to be standing. You can be seated, so that might give some more people some access as well. But you do have to be able to turn, right?
Yeah.
The glyph will take you into the pocket dimension that you already know, where you can practice.
Move your head.
Now, the other nice thing too is it does give you, it looks like captions for all of the narration. Have you guys had captions the whole time?
Yeah, they just tell you like how to do things and show you where to go most of it.
Okay.
There's fun to be had here. Why don't you throw some spells around, hmm?
All right, so this is pretty cool to watch. I mean, it's definitely immersive, right? I mean, definitely feel like you're doing it, right?
Yeah, sometimes you'll fall down almost while playing.
Yeah. It's cool because, when you're looking at like a narrative in like VR versus like a narrative in like, like a console, I mean, you're removed at least somewhat in a console. This, I mean, it's literally like your entire field of vision. So, do you feel like you have more at stake, like when an enemy's coming at you?
Yeah, you get a little scared most of the time.
Yeah. I mean, I've played this before. I haven't played against an enemy. Well, I shouldn't say I played against an enemy, but they were in a different area, so I wasn't too worried about them coming close to me. But
Reaction when they come out of nowhere though.
well, it looks like there's all kinds of different levels here too. I mean, there's like hills and things and ruins and. Now, do you read a lot of like science fiction or a lot of like fantasy books or anything like that?
No,
So, I mean, do you play a lot of games that are like fantasy?
not really.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, if you're a big fan of like World of Warcraft, fantasy, those kinds of things, this might be a completely different experience for you. So yeah, so I mean, we're looking at background knowledge and those kinds of things. That does definitely play a part in this, I think.
Oh, catacombs. I've heard outlandish stories about what lies found. Burial chambers.
All right, so now we're at the board game, and we've got this War of Mine based off of a video game turned into a board game. Now, you guys have you had a character die yet?
Yeah.
So what was that like?
Um. Well, it kind of sucked for our other character's misery because you have to raise the misery by 2, I think.
Okay, so this looks like a pretty huge game. Now, both of you play video games, right?
Yes.
Okay, do either of you play board games like this very often?
No.
Okay, what do you think of a board game like this?
I think it is quite enjoyable, actually.
Okay, so it reminds me almost of like a D&D style, like a really strong narrative, and you have 2 books you have to go through. You have a book of scripts, and then you have your like day-to-day actions, the journal you have to go through, right? So something, yeah, very different than I think a lot of board games that a lot of people are used to, right? This is not typical Monopoly or Sorry or that kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
So do you think this type of game would appeal to anyone?
I wouldn't really think so, especially for like younger people, because there's a lot of reading involved, and it can get quite confusing.
Okay. All right. So it looks like there's a lot of directions, a lot of things you have to keep tabs on. It looks like a lot of pieces that you have to make sure that you understand, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff happening at once.
Is this a game that you play again?
I would play it again, yeah.
Okay. All right. All right, so we're back to our Fez group here. Now, how far have you actually? Do you think you've actually gone in the game?
Hang on. Which button is it? You can see which maps you've gone through.
Okay. Okay. All right, so you've gone a little ways. All right. Okay. Okay. Do you feel like you've gone a long ways in the game?
Not really. I mean, it's kind of confusing because some doors lead to the same world, like area, as other doors, and it's like hard to figure out where you're at and which way you're going.
All right. So if we're looking at like Bartle's like player types, like an achiever, or somebody who wants to know that they've gotten a certain percentage done, you're not really going to know the percentage that you have done this game, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Is that? I mean, now let me ask you, for you two, is this frustrating, or are you okay with it?
It's kind of frustrating.
All right. Okay. Now, do you wish there was more to do? Like, I mean, are you okay with the puzzles and with the the challenge of moving the screen or moving the world, around, or do you wish there was more to this?
um, well, like moving the world around kind of like confuses me. So like, I think it's enough.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So there's not enemies you need to be battling while you're moving the world around. Okay, that makes sense. All right. So I know I've asked this before, but I mean, after talking through this a little bit today, do you think this game is for? I mean, do you think it's for anyone? Like, do you think it's for any age? Do you think it's for any ability level, any type of gamer?
Yeah, for the most part, but like a couple of like the puzzles are difficult to like find and like figure out. So, like more on like the older side of like, but basically anybody can do it.
Okay. All right, so just to recap, the goal for today was for you to deconstruct your games in such a way so you could start collecting evidence that would point to what type of audience you think your game most applied to? Before you leave for the day, let me ask you, do you feel like was it challenging for you to stop the flow of play and to try to collect evidence? Was that a challenging thing to do?
No, not really. Like, it wasn't a challenge. I watched, for the last, 10 minutes while he played, and, it was easy to find different symbols and everything, which means different things.
Okay, so let me ask you one last thing before you go for the day. One last thing to ask before you go for the day. Those of you who watched while someone else played, it's probably a little easier for you to be able to pull out the evidence, right, than while you're playing. Okay? That may be one thing you just want to take note of in the future is, as you're playing, you play, I get that. And then when you're not playing, the idea is then to watch for those kinds of things that you might pull out of it. That may be an easier road to go. I'm not really sure. Exactly, yeah. So all those little details, correct. Yep. So tomorrow, second day to play, second day to collect evidence. And then the goal is on Thursday, we'll have a kind of discussion just to see what kinds of things you have found based on your game. And we'll have each group, report out, these are the things you found, this is maybe what it indicates, and then we'll kind of share that out. All right, so have a great day.